This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. I'm Marek Mazurek. The Metropolitan Evansville Transit System is boosting its METS microservice following the pilot program's one-year anniversary. In December, the city announced the current fleet of 4 hybrid Toyota Siennas, including 2 wheelchair-accessible vehicles, is expanding into 16 hybrid ADA-accessible vans. Todd Robertson is the executive director of Evansville Transportation Department. He said 90% of the microservices rides come from low-income households, which highlights the importance of affordable and flexible transit options.
We realize now that in this day and age, some students or some people who graduate college, they just choose not to purchase a car. They don't want to drive, and so they use transit as a means to get to and from. So we're finding that a lot of young people are even trying to come into the scenario.
The microtransit fleet started when the Toyota Mobility Foundation pitched the concept to the city and offered to help fund part of the service. The program is expanding thanks to a $20 million grant given to Evansville by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Community Health Network has agreed to pay out another $145 million to settle claims that it engaged in a years-long scheme to recruit physicians and pay them huge salaries and bonuses in return for referrals. The payment included $6.3 million to Community's former chief financial officer, Thomas Fisher, who claimed he was fired in 2013 in retaliation for repeatedly asking questions about the large salaries paid to recruit physicians. Community revealed the payment in a financial filing Monday afternoon. A Community Health spokesperson told IBJ the healthcare provider admits no wrongdoing from the settlements. However, Community Health has now paid out almost $500 million between the state and the U.S. Department of Justice. The legal fight began when Fisher sued Community, claiming he was improperly fired in retaliation for raising questions about the large salaries. Fisher declined to comment on Monday, referring IBJ questions to his lawyers, who also did not comment. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
To succeed, you need to stay informed. You need to be engaged. And let's face it, you need to set yourself apart from the rest by connecting with a company that brings you the best. Because in today's environment, business is an ever-moving target, and we'll help you chase it. IBJ Media. The best of business is in us. Get started at ibjmedia.com/youngprofessional.
An Indianapolis doctor is suing the Indiana Department of Health and members of the State Medical Licensing Board over the enforcement of a state law that requires physicians performing abortions to report certain information to the state, despite new federal health privacy requirements that appear to prohibit such disclosures. Dr. Christina Schifris filed the lawsuit in federal court on December 23rd, the same day physicians were required to begin complying with the Federal Reproductive Healthcare Privacy Rule, which amends federal regulations under HIPAA. The federal rule prohibits disclosure of individuals' protective health information when it could be used to investigate, impose liability on, or identify anyone seeking an abortion. The lawsuit says the federal law is in direct conflict with Indiana, which requires state physicians who perform abortions to submit terminated pregnancy reports to the Indiana Department of Health as part of the state's near-total ban on abortions passed in 2023. Representatives for the state health department and the medical licensing board told the Indiana lawyer that they do not comment on pending litigation. The lawsuit states it would be impossible for physicians to comply with both laws concurrently. While education dominates half of Indiana's budget and Medicaid costs worry lawmakers, a projected transportation infrastructure funding shortfall creeps closer. Motor fuel taxation yields 8 out of every 10 state dollars that fund roads and bridges for both INDOT and local governments. But as Hoosiers upgrade to more fuel-efficient vehicles or try electric and hybrid options, there'll be less money to work with. Lawmakers spent almost 2 years studying up on revenue-raising possibilities at the state and local levels. They haven't yet coalesced around any single fix. But with the budget-writing legislative session beginning in January, they're hoping to take action. For more on what's being considered, head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Check out the latest episode of the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.